Okay, we are going to go over your student workbook. This is going to be your journal of your game. So we are moving on to the point where you are actually going to start writing your game and designing your game. So this is a very important book to make sure that you keep track of and maintain. First thing you want to do is go to your second slide and watch this video. It's called The Three Pillars of Game Writing. It's going to go over your plot, your character or characters, and then your lore. So make sure you read that. It will give you great ideas. It will inspire you to maybe include certain things that maybe you weren't even thinking of including. Remember, the story is the most important part of your game, not your programming. The story. Your programming could be the best programming in the world, but if your story is not engaging, no one will play your game. With that said, go through all of these slides and I'm asking you specific questions about your game. For instance, these bubbles here all have questions. This first one says, does your hero have a superpower? What is your hero really good at or famous for? Double click in the shape next to the question and answer the questions. You must answer each question. Don't say none. Don't say nothing. Don't give me one word answers. You have to give me sentences. All right. If your hero doesn't have a superpower, tell me what they're good at. Maybe they're a soccer player. Maybe they're an artist. Maybe like Mario, he's a plumber. He's really good at fixing drains. So that would be something he's good at. Does your hero have a chink in their armor? So what does that mean? Does he have some sort of quirk that makes him interesting? Does he say something? Does he do something? So again, double click. And if you don't know, skip it for now. You can always go back to these questions, but these questions are to prompt you to think about these elements of your game. Mario, he says, it's a me, Mario, or he goes down pipes, or he's, always carrying um, plumbing tools. So those are some of the things that you want to start thinking about. If you come to a question and you don't immediately know the answer, just skip it. Go to the other questions, but mark it because you're going to have to go back. This student workbook might take you a couple days. You might have to go through it one time and then another day go through it again. You have to give your time to think about these questions. Don't just immediately put down the first thing that comes to your head. We're not brainstorming anymore. So if you can't think of an answer, skip it. But make sure you go back to it. It might be later that day. It might be tomorrow. It might be a couple days from now when you finally think, oh, I have a great idea now for this question. But each question has to have an answer, even if you do not use it in your final game. You want to make sure you have whatever element I'm asking in this bubble, have an answer for it. Because you never know when you're going to use it, and you might not use it for your main character. You might use it for a villain. You might use it for one of your cast of characters. So I'm going to be asking you about your hero, your cast of characters, and then your world. Those are the big elements that we're going to be talking about. So again, read the questions in the circles, double click in the shapes next to them and answer. So once you give me your hero, your cast of characters, your world, once you define that, we need to start talking about the actual story. Most stories, almost all of them, follow a story map. Whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter, any anime that you guys might watch, there's what they call a hero's journey. And your character is going to go through that same journey. So again, any shape that I have here, you're going to double click and you're going to give me some information. Read the question that is being asked. How will you introduce your hero characters in the quest? Are they in a castle cleaning swords? Are they a plumber working at somebody's house and something happens and they get sucked into a brand new world? What happens? So your rising action is, what challenges must your hero overcome? So again, is somebody working in a castle, then all of a sudden a dragon appears and starts destroying the castle? Again, using Mario? Are they a plumber and they get sucked down into a drain pipe, and a character tells them that they must save the princess from an evil King Bowser? What's the rising action? What's the challenge? How do you introduce your character? And then what's the challenge that they face? Second sketch here, or I'm sorry, the second part of this story map. What are the complications? What new challenges must your hero overcome? Right? So again, we'll use Mario as just a blueprint for this. So we introduce him as a plumber. The challenge is he gets sucked through a drain pipe and a princess has been kidnapped and he's asked for help. What new challenges? So now the evil King Koopa is sending out Koopas and flying turtles, and he's trying to stop Mario from getting to the castle to save the princess. That's what's happening. A whole bunch of evil minions are coming and trying to stop Mario. So what's the climax of that story? Well, the climax is when all the story comes to a head. The climax would be that Mario ends up meeting Bowser, or finally getting to the final stage, the final castle, to finally try to save the princess. So we would write that there. And falling action. What has changed about the hero? So Mario is now changed from just a simple plumber to an actual hero of Mario World. He saved the princess. King Bowser is defeated. Maybe Mario becomes king. Who knows? But what's at the end of the story? What happens to your character? How do they change? They can't just be Mario the plumber again because he's gone on this journey. What's changed about Mario? The second part of your student workbook. This is your first part, telling me the details of your character, your supporting characters, and your world, what the story is. And then the second part, you're going to start building your actual storyboard. So again, watch this video about what storyboards are, and then start building your storyboard. Your storyboard are simple shapes. Don't overcomplicate things. So if I wanted my first scene of my storyboard to be a castle, right? I'm just going to make shapes. It doesn't have to look exactly like a castle, but I'm just going to create simple shapes here. So this will be a castle. This will be my opening scene of my game. So I'm building a castle with simple shapes. And I might just double click in here and write castle. And then I might come over here and I might say there's going to be some mountains in the background here. Right? So I'm building a storyboard panel. Storyboards are not complicated. I'm introducing my world. And you can, again, if you want, you can double click in here. You don't have to. But you can sort of tell people what your shapes are, just in case it's not apparent. We'll make that a little smaller so it can fit. So these are mountains. This is a castle. And then underneath here, you're going to write some text. So this is a shot of the world. This is an establishing shot of the world. And you'll find out what an establishing shot is. So castle in the foreground, which means closest to viewer. Mountains in the background. So, simple shapes, and I'm typing on the simple shapes so that people can understand what they are. And then underneath, I'm just writing a brief description, right? You can see what I wrote. It's one sentence. Establishing shot. So we're going to establish that what the world looks like on the very first shot of my game. There's a castle in the foreground, which means closest to the viewer, and mountains in the background. So that's my shot. When the game first opens, that's what you're going to see. So then what happens? So that's where you come here and you start making out your actual scenes. This doesn't have to be perfect. So the next scene might be of my hero. And I'm just going to put um, a face here. And I think there's an actual shape of a face in here. Let's come here to your shapes. So we will just get this happy face, right? And then we can, again, type here with the text, grab your text tool and type close up of hero at home in her room, right? So we go from this fantasy place with this castle and these mountains to the next shot is now we're actually in somebody's room, in our hero's room. She doesn't know it yet. Nothing's happened yet, but she's just going about her day in her room. So if you wanted to, again, you could add some more parts to just kind of show that she's in a room. Maybe this is a bookcase back here. You could put a window back here if you want. But you can see all I'm using is simple shapes back here, right? It's all I'm using. And you're using these storyboards so that when you go into Pisco and start actually creating your characters and your environments, you have references. So you know now that you have to create your hero, but not only that, your hero's bedroom. So their storyboards are going to inform what you're going to build in Pisco. So again, make sure you go through all these storyboards. Give me some simple scenes of your game that you're going to include. Give me brief descriptions. They could be one sentence each if that's all you need. But make sure, again, that you are thinking about your game and how you're going to design it in Pisco. Once you're done with all that, make sure you click the link here to go over the review for your quiz on this last slide. Again, this might take you a couple days to complete your workbook, so take your time. If you have any questions, please let me know.